Hi, so I'm Miss Jasmine, and this is going to be our little math madness activity for this week. I know that we're at home still and we haven't been able to go back to school, so this is a little math activity that I think would be really helpful for kindergartners and first graders learning their shapes. So what I want to have parents do is, if they have paper laying around, or if you actually have the shapes that we need for this activity, go ahead and use those. So I have pre-cut some circles, rectangles, triangles, and squares. For those that are more advanced, you can use diamonds, or what we call rhombuses, or you can use more difficult shapes, if you will, something like a trapezoid, an octagon, a hexagon, things that would not necessarily be in the curriculum for kindergarten and first grade. So what we're going to do is, shapes obviously have sides. So since we're lacking manipulatives, we're going to use those everyday house items as our manipulatives. So for instance, if you have beans, like a sack of beans, that'll work. Just take about 10 in case you do a decagon for the higher levels. But if you're doing the standard way for kinder and first, go ahead and grab about 5 beans. That should work. I have Ritz crackers instead because I don't have any beans. So I have crackers. And what you want your students to do is you want them to categorize first. So with that being said, I have this blue paper up here so that way I can categorize. So I might take this one and say, okay, well, this is a circle, and I know that because it has no sides. So I know there's no sides. So I'm going to put that circle over there. Then I'm going to look at this triangle and I'm going to say, how many sides does this have? So I grab my Ritz crackers and I say, okay, here's 1. So I put 1 cracker down. Here's 2. So I put a 2nd cracker down. And then this one on this side must be 3. So I have 1, 2, and 3. So I put down a 3rd cracker. So now I have 3 crackers. 1, 2, 3. And I can compare it to my circle. And my circle didn't have any sides. So is this shape the same as a circle? And I'd say no, because I have 3 crackers in my hand for the triangle. Whereas for the circle, I didn't have any crackers. So then I would go ahead and put my little triangle over here. I'll put him right here. So this is how the activity will work. And you'd pick up another shape and I'd say, okay, what shape is this? And the student would say, oh, I don't know. I don't know what shape it is. So I said, okay, let's go ahead and think about how many sides it has. So we'd go 1, I'm going to take another cracker, 2, put another cracker down, 3, 1 more cracker, and 4, pull out a 4th cracker. So I know that this is 4 crackers. How many was the triangle? You'd say, oh, that was only 3 crackers. So no, they're not the same. So then you'd say, okay, well, this is a square because it has 4 sides, right? And so we put it over here away from the triangle and the circle because we know that these 3 aren't the same shape. So we want to keep them separate. And then lastly, I would say, okay, so this is a square too, right? Because this has 1, 2, 3, 4 sides, right? This is also a square. And then students can say, students should be able to express to you why this is not a square. And if not, that's when you need to go back to the vocabulary and review why this isn't a square. And it's not a square because it has 2 long sides that are the same size and 2 shorter sides that are the same size. Whereas a square has 4 equal sides all the way around. A triangle has 2 equal sides and 2 equal sides. So once students have had the chance to categorize the shapes as they are, a circle, a triangle, square, and a triangle, once they have all of those shapes categorized, then you can move to the different sizes. So I cut different sizes of circles and rectangles and stuff like that. So then once this whole portion is done of them determining what shape is what, they can then categorize them. And for those upper level students, you can go ahead and say, okay, well, I want you to categorize the shapes into shapes that have 3 sides versus no sides versus 4 sides, 5 sides, 6 sides, and so on. So that gets a little more complicated for the higher level kids. And once we're finished with that portion, so I might say, okay, well, I'm going to move this one. Ooh. I'm going to move this one over here because they both have 4 sides. So that's something they can do as well. And then once they have determined that, you can ask them if it is a 2D model or a 3D model. Now here's where this gets a little tricky, so this is why you need a pencil or a pen or some kind of writing utensil. You're going to draw a square and say, is this 2-dimensional? Oh, you can't. I'm so sorry, you can't see that. But you draw a square on the board. I wonder if you can see this. This is a little better. So you would draw a square and then ask them, is this 2-dimensional or 3-dimensional? And they would have to answer and explain why. So the main concept of this video is to have your students elaborate why something is the way it is. Why the way it is. So why is this a circle? Well, it's a circle because it has no sides. Why is this square 2-dimensional? Because you can't physically pick it up. So see, I'm trying to pick up this square and I can't pick it up. So now that I'm trying to go into the real world, I need to find a square. So a square can be something that is a cube shape, like a box, or I'm blanking on what a square could be, a Tupperware set. So there's different things, but going by our definition of what a square is, it needs to have 4 equal sides. So that's how kids are going to go around the house searching for these things. So a circle would be a sphere as a 3-dimensional object, and that would lead us to picking up balls, soccer balls, basketballs, tennis balls, all those kind of things. Whereas our triangle, our 3-dimensional triangles, they're more like prism shaped. So a 3-dimensional triangle would be a pyramid of some sort, and not everyone will have a pyramid in their house, but if they can't find one, it's important to explain to them what the difference between 2 and 3D is. The 2 and 3D challenge is mostly for the squares, rectangles, and circles, just because those are more commonly household objects, whereas in a school setting, we actually would have those 3D objects for them. But obviously we're home, so it's a little different. But for the most part, I do encourage you guys to work with your students at home and make sure that they can classify shapes, because it's a super important tool. Make sure they are using the correct vocabulary, including squares, rectangles. They're not required to know the 3-dimensional name, the proper name, like rectangular prisms and such, or cubes. They should, however, be able to identify them in a real life setting. So if you have one of those super big tubs that are shaped like a rectangle, that would be considered the 3D version of a rectangle for this case. If you guys have any questions, please email me or let me know if something's wrong. Thank you so much for everything, and please be safe out there, and I hope you guys enjoyed the activity. Bye guys!